Hi, everybody. I have a doozy here for you today, at least what I consider to be. Um, I wanted to look back over Russell Brand's old videos and establish his positions before he was paid for by um, Trump Media's Rumble network. So my understanding is that he is contracted to Rumble at the moment. I think it's fairly widely accepted that he is on probably a multi-million-dollar contract to the Rumble network, and certainly has been making a lot of money through them. And I found it noticeable how his positions have been influenced by who pays him. You'll never hear him criticize Trump. You hear him defend the Republicans and attack Democrats, Biden, whilst at the same time pretending that he is not right wing. Yet and he'll be interviewing people like Tucker Carlson, the lead anchor for Fox News for such a long time. He took over from, I think it's Bill O'Reilly, took over Bill O'Reilly's spot. And his opinions have really changed quite a lot. So I wanted to go back. I thought I'd find it really infuriating, but actually it was a fairly pleasant experience because, as you'll see, old Russell Brand is very different to current Russell Brand. Let's see what he has to say.
If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration, Chris. You wouldn't even be talking about it.
I suppose what's worrying here is the sound of cheering rather than, not the sound of people gasping in horror at these ludicrous announcements from this preposterous figure, who I have actually met, who I've been involved in a direct discourse with, who I've had sort of what you might call online spats with. You can't take this guy seriously. He's hilarious. But what I think will happen as a result of Trump's participation in the presidential election is that he kind of pollutes the air with toxic thinking, and it forms part of a crazy zeitgeist. You know my views on conventional politics. It's meaningless. These spectacular, ludicrous, grotesque figures, however, do contribute to the maintenance and exacerbation of a mood of negativity and making politics dumber and stupider and more inhuman than ever. And perhaps no one is more expert at that than Donald Trump. No one builds idiots like Donald Trump.
This is a really different tone that he's striking compared to where he is these days. It's hard to argue with his points, where he calls them, I forget exactly how he phrases it, but he says that Donald Trump is making people stupid. It's hard to agree, it's hard to disagree that that's not the case, that he's polluting the discourse, that he's become toxic, that he's a demagogue. It's hard to see anything otherwise, and it is very clear that this was taken from before COVID. So you'll see a range of clips all the way up to, I think it's like 2 years before COVID. After that, he gets onto like a health tip and is not really talking about politics really anywhere near as much. He's talking about sort of health and well-being. But it's clear to see just a short period of time before he starts talking about all of the COVID conspiracy stuff that he is very left-wing and that he has a problem with Trump, and he recognizes many of the things that I would level at him as criticism, things that he is ignoring at the moment. And it's hard for him to say that he hasn't seen them because he lists them so deftly here.
Like Donald Trump, like most rich people, is rich because when he emerged out of a vagina, there was loads of money attached to the vagina. He just comes out of a rich vagina.
There's nobody can build a fence, and I would have Mexico pay for it, believe me. They will pay for it because they have really ripped this country off.
I've lived in Los Angeles. You get rid of Mexican people, nothing's gonna fucking get done.
They have really taken advantage of us.
If I was to say I don't like the people in my street, I want a wall built between me and them, and I want them to pay for it. It's just such a staggering number of idiotic suggestions that you're almost crushed under the weight of it. Perhaps that's his intention, to be, it's sort of, perhaps it's like a frequency jam. He says so many stupid things that you sort of in the end go, all right, be in charge.
If it weren't
for you, what have I done now? I've announced I'm running for president.
But I would make America great again, that I can tell you.
I can tell you that. Well, you can tell us it, Donald, but it's not true.
I do very...
It's funny hearing him be so open and honest about his opinions. he is so guarded in the way that he talks about Republicans and guarded in the way that he talks about Donald Trump. He will only ever sort of equivocate as in all politicians are bad, and if he ever offers anything approaching a critique of Donald Trump, he will walk it straight back. He will not ever allow any standing criticisms of Donald Trump. You don't see this kind of content from him anymore.
Very well in politics.
Look, you know already, don't you, that the only possible solution to the problem of climate change is renewable energy. There's loads of examples of it working perfectly well. The only reason we're not exploring it more quickly and more efficiently is because it conflicts with the interests of the rich and powerful. And when ordinary people or the planet come into competition, contradiction or conflict with big business, planet and ordinary people always lose unless we come together to confront them. They're not going to do it for you. True News, subscribe here.
Well in politics, other than possibly in Aberdeen, where I'm also doing very well because the people in Aberdeen love Trump.
I think that's hilarious. I mean, before we even get onto the content, just Trump saying he's doing really well everywhere except for Aberdeen, where he's also doing well. And his mind is something to behold, and not really in a good way.
They love me. I have a lot of people employed. We're doing well. It's a wonderful project, and they really like it. But the only problem I have in Aberdeen are these stupid windmills.
No, Donald. What it is them windmills, they're saving the planet. So, like, why don't you put some of your energy, instead of pretending that you might run for president on June the 16th, or another golf course, or another thing with the word Trump in front of it, Trump water, Trump towers, Trump diddly, Trump trumpets, like, just get behind the old... Why don't we call it a Trump windmill? Could we? A Trump windmill? That I like. Would it destroy the planet, though? Well, no, Donald, but I don't like it.
See, he's obviously very clear on the fact that Donald Trump gives not one single hoot about the well-being of the planet. And Donald Trump is very interested in satisfying his own ego.
But in terms of dealing,
I don't know, he's looking at who are the most vulnerable people and trying to give them some kind of moderate break.
Now, just doing this report, you know that the far left progressive...
Far left progressive, not wanting to be horrible to the homeless on the street. You, mad, weird, hippie, commie, bastard. Now get over here with us and kill this homeless guy.
Internet.
It's funny because he does the same thing himself now. He uses this same trick, referring to people with normal views as being far left.
Crew is going to attack you and me.
Hey, that's aimed at us, isn't it? We are the far left internet crew. We're sort of part of that.
So we're mean guys.
killing us at the
Not
border.
anymore.
Second of all, Bill, what they're doing to us in trade is unbelievable. They're taking our jobs.
Well, I don't think any of them are loafing about being billionaires because their dad gave them a company with a stupid smoke-coloured hairdo. Hey, hello there. My name is Pedro. I like to be in charge of a company and do some bullshit TV shows and say racist stuff. That's my job.
They're taking...
Yeah, so that was his opinion of Donald Trump. You don't hear that anymore.
Don't matter what happens to these people when they're out in the world. They're not going to get health care. They're all going to get sent off to mad wars. But for that little split second, while there's some cells, they're really, really holy. That little bit. Why do you only like them when there's some cells? What about when they grow into people, all complex people? No, I hate them then. I like it when they're cells. Why don't we just let's keep people alive at that stage, and then perhaps Republicans can find a way of feeling some compassion and empathy.
Clearly, he's noting the fact that it's the Republicans who are lacking in compassion and empathy, and this is not the first time in his programs that he observes this.
Little petri dish full of non-determinate cellular matter.
Because I wanted to run for president, and I told them I'd be running.
We're all terrified of you being president, Don, not just NBC. But thankfully, I don't think it's possible, is it? I mean, they do like an idiot over there in America once in a while. Should we have a complete idiot as president? Yeah!
I have assigned...
My fellow Americans, it has been the honor of my life to serve you.
In the context of Donald Trump, Barack Obama does seem, even for me, who's a person who likes to think of myself outside the system, man, looking at the whole thing as a swarm of corruption, I still look at Barack Obama and think, I like him. I think he'd be a nice person to hang out with, and probably if I met him, I'd feel sort of nervous and a bit like I wanted him to like me. Donald Trump, I have met him. I didn't feel those things. I felt sort of like, this is mad to be in this guy. And then, of course, he became president of America, and I had to really reevaluate the way I saw the world. Like, Donald Trump lives in this sort of almost fibre optic narrow tunnel of compassion for participants in beauty pageants, and he can't see that that same compassion could be applied to people from economically deprived backgrounds. This sickens me, what's happening to people in pageants. What about Mexicans? Fuck them!
And abandoned by Univision.
What about Miss Mexico, for example? They don't get no. Miss Mexico doesn't get to enter. She's a rapist. She's violated trade. She's crossing borders. She's not good looking. Donald's gonna combust.
And I'm going to work it out so that show goes on.
What are you gonna do? Do it in your garden?
They have been totally abandoned.
This is Donald Trump complaining that his beauty pageant was dropped from one of the broadcasting channels.
Parents are there, their families are there.
Again, Donald's got infinite compassion for a microscopic demographic. Are you sure you know what you're doing? These are the families of beauty pageants.
These are fabulous young women, and NBC didn't even think about that when they did it. And
He obviously doesn't really care about the young women in the competition. His investment in the competition is because he owns it. So him putting other people's feelings forward as a reason why it should be aired is a complete and obvious lie.
I told them, I said, how can you do this to these wonderful women?
That's all he cares about. He's such a maniac.
I mean, they're young women, and they have been crushed.
Do you know, I would think that I had the capacity to sit Donald down and explain to him how those feelings that he feels for beauty pageant contestants could be expanded to include non-beauty pageant contestants. But I've met Donald, and he does not respond well to reason, rationale, logic, or language.
There we go. And that was an honest opinion. You hear him say something like that on his channel these days.
Do you believe...
In the context of an emergent political figure like Donald Trump, who's saying outrageous sexist things, outrageous racist things, you think... But what's always concerned me is the continuing populist appeal of these ideas when ordinary people will not benefit from the kind of ideas that come at you through Fox News. And the rage that people feel marching under flags of the Confederacy, marching under the swastika, will never be alleviated by the people that say, yeah, you should leave those statues up, whether it's Donald Trump or Nigel Farage. Those people want ordinary people to be poor, dispossessed and angry. They require their anger. Their anger is the fuel for Donald Trump and Nigel Farage. So the fact that they garner their support and harness their support is one of the great sort of paradoxes and continuing bafflements of our time. The fact that there's an appetite to keep up statues to dead ideas and to erect borders that won't have any functional meaning but continue to facilitate the dominance of the currently powerful, and the people that are applauding it, cheering it, burning torches and waving flags for it are people that are penalised under that system, for me suggests there is much education to be done. I don't want to sound like some hippie guy saying those marching ludicrously under tiki torches and Nazi flags need empathy, education and love, and it's not from a woolly place that I suggest that that's precisely what's required. Of course those actions need to be curtailed and penalised when they occur, but when I watch stuff like Fox News and Nigel Farage, I can't see how any version of condemnation and hatred is going to help this already seething conflagration. True News.
Yeah, there we go. This is these are the real opinions of Russell Brand when
This
he
is
is
actually
not
who I
being
am.
paid.
This is it. This is truth. This is reality for me. Hopefully that means something to you. I don't know if it does anymore.
Yeah, here. The Russell Brand from pre-2020 is a very different beast to the paid-for, Trump media-owned Russell Brand that we see these days, and I think that's clear to see.